This is technology. This is how I'm getting now. Chris Demm told me about this story where a guy was driving a Tesla. All right, obviously great new technology. And he was going 83 miles per hour. And the headline is, Tesla freezes at 83 miles an hour. And you know what my thought was? That, boy, it must be cold in California.
On the 5?
On the 5. He's driving on the 5, and right in the middle of it, it just in a block of ice. And I thought, my God, what has Tesla got? What kind of coolant does Tesla have in it?
Is this a comic book movie?
Froze on the 5. I thought, he's a block of...
Is Mr. Freeze here?
That was literally what I... Then it had like a news attachment with it. I said, I've got to see this. I want to see... This is going to be the most biggest breaking news story all day. No,
it's not a freeze ray.
All his computer equipment froze up, and he was going 83 miles an hour out on the 10. Is what he was on in California.
What do you do?
He tried everything he could. He's telling the story now. Now his brakes finally worked. The first time he tapped them, they didn't work.
I don't like this.
No, that is as scary as it gets. And here he is telling the story.
I was driving down the freeway. I noticed that it started to get hot in the car, and it started to be a weird scent coming. I was nervous that if I were to brake a whole lot, that I wouldn't be able to gain the speed again to keep up with traffic and get around cars, or I was nervous someone was going to slam into me.
So what happened was he got off the side of the road because after about 2 minutes, his brakes did start working. Thank goodness. So he was able to brake down. He got off the side, but he didn't want to try it again. Everything seemed to come back, but he didn't want to try it again because he's afraid he would freeze up at 10 miles an hour and get rammed into because the traffic was going around 80.
Yeah.
And so he called roadside assistance, and they came and got him and towed it in. They said there was some sort of safety feature on the vehicle that had gone wrong that caused everything to shut down.
No, can't go wrong.
He couldn't accelerate. He couldn't brake for a couple of minutes. He couldn't turn up or down the air conditioning, the radio, nothing. Nothing.
Well, it's just essentially an iPad,
thing.
right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's just a screen in the middle. That's it.
Right.
And a wheel.
That's right. So when the screen goes bad, everything is stuck. There's nothing else he could do.
It's like your computer.
It is.
Does Tesla, do you know, have its own like dedicated roadside assistance, or do you just call your people?
I think it does.
The Geek Squad comes out in their little Volkswagen.
It was the Tesla people that came out and got it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, something else too. They
use that Will Smith Men in Black flashy thing. This never happened. Teslas are wonderful. Poof.
Yeah.
He said that.
I'm gonna need you to look right here for just a second.
What he said, he went on to say, basically the computer rebooted. That's how he was able to get it started again. So it's like your computer. You know how you turn it off,
unplug
it, and then plug it back in. That's pretty scary. And I like Tesla.
Yeah, but what do you know about him?
I know a guy that has one.
Oh,
I know a guy. I'm not going to say from what or where, but he's got
hold
one.
your applause.
All right.
So this is what goes wrong in them? I mean,
everything,
like your transmission goes out or your engine goes out in a regular car. Is this what goes wrong in these cars?
Well, other stuff could go wrong, couldn't it? I mean,
I don't know. There's no carburetor. There's no exhaust. There's no...
I'm not sure. This is obviously a big problem. If that were to happen widespread,
the biggest problem you hear about usually is the battery issue,
dying or not being able to recharge.
But there's got to be something else, and it sounds like computers locking up.
Dang! Now you going 83 miles an hour. That's about as scary as it gets. And he had trouble getting off the road.
Imagine driving your computer every day.
Right. And with that, it's like speed. When I first started looking at the story, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just like that movie, the Keanu Reeves movie.
Slow down.
Yeah, you can't slow down. There's nothing you can do with that. Here's old technology, and it's coming back now. They've restarted it in Tampa and St. Petersburg in Florida. The old time and temperature number. Do you remember? This is how sad it was when I was a child. Most of the time when I wanted some sort of excitement in the day, I'd call the number for time and temperature. That would kill a minute of your day. You don't know what this is, do you,
No. Before
we had computers or anything like that, if you wanted to know the temperature, you'd go over, and our number was 625-1340. I have it burned into my brain. 625-1340. And that would get you, it was sponsored by a bank, and they would say, such and such First National Bank offers this and that, and then say, the correct time is 8:16 a.m. The temperature is 61 degrees. And that was it.
Ours wasn't even sponsored.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we would call them the 60s and 70s. And I think it was 555-1212.
That was the number, right?
Yep.
And so we called it all the time.
In fact, if you watch older movies, B.B. Shea, you'll see it sometimes as a plot point.
Right.
When someone will pretend they're making a phone call,
but they're actually.
But then you hear them say at the tone.
Yeah, the time
will be 8:13.
That's correct. Look at his face. This is what we did.
How bad did you really need to know?
Badly.
But you have watches?
Badly. What?
You didn't have like a watch or anything?
We had watches.
Yeah, and clocks.
We had watches, but if your power went out, you had to reset everything.
That's right.
Could you use the phone if the power went out?
Yeah, it was in the wall.
It's
Yeah,
on
the
wall.
phone almost always worked.
Phone lines were different.
Yeah.
And what we called it mostly for was the temperature. My dad goes, "Man, it's cold out there," and we'd call him, and be like, "It's 34," and he's like, "Doesn't feel like 34."
There wasn't a 24-hour news. There's no weather change.
Just a conversation started.
Yeah, I mean, the weather happened once a day on TV.
Yes. And then we'd go downtown sometimes, and the time and temperature would be flashing on the top of a building also. And it was a different building. It was a bank, but it was not the same one that sponsored the phone, which took me a long time to put together. Anyway, they're starting. 1 million people call that every month.
I love that.
Nationwide.
1 million.
1 million, because some cities are bringing them back. Well, I like it too, but it's like, why?
Yeah.
I mean, everything is right there on your phone. I mean, all that information.
Why do people listen to vinyl records?
Well, right. It's nostalgia.
It's nostalgia.
But some people say vinyl records have a richer sound.
True.
You know, this is. But you know, then why are there meteorologists on TV? I mean, you know, it's a.
Hey.
Whoa. No, I mean.
Yeah.
Except you, Dave.
But you serve your purpose.
And I'll tell you right now,
Yeah.
the days that I do work, I have to update a phone line.
Oh, do you?
Yes. That when people call into, hell, see, I don't even know. I don't know if they call into the station and it's on like the whole, if you get put on hold and it runs the forecast.
Yeah.
Or if you can call a certain number and you can get the forecast.
Well,
So how long is your little phone forecast?
About a minute.
I think it is. I mean, but we still watch the weather on the news all the time. It's the number one thing that's watched.
There are people out there that do it. And Chris Demm sent me this story, which is I just absolutely just slathered over. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I saw you slathering.
Yeah. And
I could hear it.
this is my thing, man.
Oh, I know. I loved it.
And it said that some people would call that number and still call that number because they don't have anybody to talk
They're
to.
lonely.
And they want to hear something on the phone.
When I was a kid, I used to call the public library and they'd tell you a story at night. And I was 24, 25 years old. You know, I was young. I was young when I was doing it. So you call in, and somebody would answer and say, "This is the Asheboro, North Carolina Public Library. Our story time for the evening is whatever." Curious George, and they tell you a 10-minute story. So nice. So the old days, you know, that's how it was. Young people now are obsessed with a new social media app. This is the total opposite end of the spectrum. It came out a while back. It's called BeReal, and it's blowing up right now. It's about showing your friends what's really going on in your life. Things like Instagram and Facebook, of course, are full of photos that you pose for and all that. BeReal doesn't allow any filters, so they're going sort of the opposite direction. Once a day, at a random time, you get an alert telling you, post your picture of what you're doing right now. And so it's called BeReal. So it's like at that moment, and it's random. You never. So if you're on the toilet, you're on the toilet. Okay.
Having sex.
That's right.
I like the concept.
That's right.
Let me take a picture real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, and that's what. It's an interesting idea. Yeah. Just when you think everything's done, somebody comes along and does it differently. You don't see your friends' photos until you've posted one. So you have to post for the day before you can look at everybody else's. Isn't that interesting?
That's cool.
Once a day?
Yeah.
Once a day.
And how do they know it's current? That you didn't take it an hour before or 2 hours earlier in the day?
I guess the app makes you take the picture through the app.
So you hit the app and then you've got to take a picture
Yeah,
right then.
and then post it just right then, you know. So you don't see, if you miss a 2-minute window, this is the answer.
Okay.
If you miss a 2-minute window, you can still post, but everyone won't see it until later in the day, and they'll say this was posted earlier, so you don't. But if it's ask you when, you got it. 2/3 of the people that are on it have joined since January. That's how big it is getting now.
And you never know what time of day it's going to happen.
No, you do not. A 25-year-old woman says she was crushed the other day when she posted a photo, then found out in real time that all her friends were at a party that she wasn't invited to. Because they all took their pictures and showed themselves at a party, and it's just like, it killed her, you know? It's like, oh, no.
Beautiful.
I know, isn't that crazy? Totally different.
It tells you everything.
One more piece of technology we talked about yesterday, an update to it now. The woman who has made a business out of naming your baby, she can, people are paying anywhere from $1,500, now we have the prices here, anywhere from $1,500 to $10,000 to a 33-year-old woman, and she made $150,000 last year doing this. She's a professional baby namer. So you send in the parents' names, your family's name. She does a little research for you, and then she comes up with the right name. And she is now on the record saying, these are my favorites. She likes kind of old school names.
Here are my top suggestions for a little brother. I would say Emmett, Miller, and Grady, Wilson, Waylon, Fletcher, Langston or Harvey.
I'm kind of trying to evoke a ritzy Art Deco 1920s revival. Happy baby naming.
These are the baby names she's suggesting to people. The minimum cost is $1,500.
Jesus.
Up to $10,000.
That gets you one letter.
It's like Wordle. Here's H.
The more you want, the more it costs.
Yes, premium subscription, premium price $10,000 if you want her to really go into your family's history and try to come up with a unique
What's that
name.
say about people having to be served everything and you can't just do it on your own?
It's mind-boggling, as the kids say.
Yeah, mind-boggling.
Thank you. Can't come up with their baby's name on your own. My goodness. You know, I taught my friend Landon, who's my stretcher.
Yeah.
God, speaking of things you can't do on your own. Jeez. He stretches me.
That's the epitome of the one thing every human can do.
What a very good point. My God. Yeah, Dave, to speak to that, the guy who stretches me once a week. I just lay there and get stretched.
Good God, man.
My God. What are these young people not able to even name their babies?
Where does it come from? Where did they get this? I learned it from you.
He's expecting a baby, and now they have an app where you go on and you and your wife take the app, and baby names randomly come up, and you swipe either right or left. And the ones you swipe left on, the ones you agree on, go into a certain pile, so you know which ones you agree on. It's not just reading the baby name books anymore. It's the app that does it.